Starting things is so scary. I don't even know how to start this. But I think the important thing is that you start. So in the spirit of starting, here we are. I'm in front of my sketchbook that I have had forever and hardly filled out because I'm always scared of making drawings that aren't good enough to stay in a sketchbook forever. So I'll make a drawing and tear it out, or I just won't draw in a sketchbook at all. And I think that's kind of silly. I think it's kind of lame of me to do. So I want my first video to be in a sketchbook. So here we are. I had an idea for this video. I was going to do redrawings of old artworks that I could share, talk about the process of, starting and growing, and talk about that whole deal, but I realized I can't look at images on my phone while I'm recording on my phone. So that's a little bit of a not great start, but hey, that's okay. I don't know exactly where I'll go from here. I just know that I'm going to start. So let's do that. I didn't really know where to go for this sketchbook spread, so I decided to just draw. I started with the doodle page where I drew whatever came to my mind. I drew a little version of my character Spectra, looking a little anxious because that's how I felt starting this spread. As I pushed myself on though, I started feeling better. I think my favorite things on this page are the angry little apple and the dancing ant. I was watching Casey Golden while I worked on this, and I love the way she draws ants, so I wanted to draw one too. Other than that, there's nothing crazy going on here. Scenery isn't my strong suit, but I had a lot of fun drawing this little scene at the bottom of the page. I thought it was really relaxing and calming, so that was fun. But back to the main point. Is there something you've been really wanting to do for a long time, but you've been putting it off because you don't think you'll do well enough, or something would go wrong? That's how I felt about this video. If I'm honest, I really felt tempted to scrap it, but I was running out of time to get a video made for an assignment, which was honestly a good thing. I think the hardest step is the first step, and the end result isn't as important as just getting the first thing done. So if you've been feeling the same way about something in your life, why not just give it a try? I wanted to do a more complete illustration on the second page over here, so I decided to draw a little sheep guy who's stretching and getting ready to start a new adventure. I just felt like drawing a sheep, and I thought it'd be cute because they're normally associated with sleeping, or in this case, not moving forward on a goal you have. Also, in case you're curious, I did all the sketching with this erasable colored pencil from Crayola. I really like colored sketches. I just think they turn out so cool and cute, really. And green's my favorite color, and since I was feeling a little bummed, I wanted to draw in green. So I pulled out these Crayola colored pencils that are erasable. They don't erase the best, but I enjoy using them. So I recommend picking them up if you just want to sketch in color but don't feel like spending a bunch of money or anything like that. Speaking of green, I'm a little bit of a creature of habit when it comes to doing line art or outlining. I normally use this pen. It's a very dark green rather than black. I enjoy the way that it looks with the other colors that I tend to use. I use a lot of earth tones most of the time. Though I did do something a little bit different. I wanted the line art to be smooth, which I guess is fairly normal for most people. I normally enjoy a little bit more of a rough and sketchy look because it makes things look a little bit eerie, creepy, and I don't know, I think that's kind of neat. Even though I draw such cute things, I like that contrast, that juxtaposition. But yeah, I decided to keep it more simple, try something a little different, and see how it turned out. This little apple guy right here is my favorite thing on this page, for sure. He's just so silly and cross-eyed. I don't know why I made him like that, but I am very happy I did. I might like him almost as much as I like the illustration I do, but you'll see that in a minute. Doing the sky right here, I think, is the part that I was the most nervous about. I'm using this highlighter pen, and it was turning out really streaky because it's a highlighter pen. And I wasn't sure what to do, so I decided to throw some watercolor over it, and ended up just using watercolor for the rest of the piece. It was an interesting decision because I'm not very confident with watercolors. I had them sitting next to me in case I wanted to use them, mostly because I thought they looked pretty sitting next to me more than anything, but I did decide to break them out and give them a try. I have used watercolors a few times, mostly during my art classes in high school, but I feel like I never really learned the proper techniques, and this paper is definitely not watercolor paper, but I'm glad that I tried something new, experimented a little bit. I decided to do all of the coloring and everything in this video with some really cheap art supplies because I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself to do something spectacular. I'm really happy I did because I felt more open to try new things I wouldn't normally do, like the watercolors. And again, even though the sketchbook isn't watercolor and not quite thick enough to handle watercolors the way that they're supposed to, I think, it held up decently. I was able to blend together all these different colors in interesting ways. I don't normally go this crazy with the colors, but I really like how whimsical it makes the overall piece feel, so I'm very happy about that. And it's interesting for me to use colors that are so bold and bright. It reminds me of when I first started drawing, and that was a nice, nostalgic, comforting feeling, I think. I think that's a good way to go about starting things. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to make something perfect, and maybe consider limiting yourself to things that won't make you feel precious with whatever you're doing. Start small. There's always room to grow from there. At this point, I was really just having fun splotching all the bright colors everywhere and trying to blend them out. Trying to make the whole piece feel harmonious and picking up colors that are in one spot and trying to spread them around across the piece. I've seen other artists do this and I've always liked the way it looks, but it's never something that I had done much of, even though I know it's, in theory, a good practice, especially to make your piece look more interesting or stand out, or if you want it to be bright and bold and vibrant like this, it's definitely a good way to start. I remember this part of painting the sheep. I was like, the sun is up in that corner, and I did the shading completely wrong, even though the sun is literally in view. I wasn't upset about it. I went in and I added some darker shading and fixed that problem. I just thought it was hilarious, considering the light source is literally in the picture. Another thing that I think is kind of interesting is that I'm really not the biggest fan of the color pink, except in the context of being mixed with orange and or green. I really like the way it looks then. It makes the other colors just pop more, and it pops, and I enjoy that look. Speaking of popping, instead of using the green pen that I normally use for outlining or using a green colored pencil, I decided to outline with this maroon, kind of, I think the color specifically is burgundy, colored pencil, to try to keep that bold brightness in the picture and draw in another color that will, instead of taking away, maintain the vibrancy and like harmonize the piece. I didn't explain that the best, but what I'm trying to say is I think it ties the colors together very well. And I really like the way it looks. I think I'm going to experiment more with outlining in different colors that actually work with the piece instead of just being stubborn and going, no, but green, even though I do love me some green. At this point I was just adding some more depth with colored pencil, some more texture, because I'm a texture girly. If I can get some more texture in, you better believe I'm going to. That's one thing I really like about traditional art. Texture just kind of comes naturally with the paper and the art supplies, and I love working mixed media. You get all these cool effects, and I really enjoy it. At this point, I'm pretty much just adding final details, trying to do some cleanup, making sure all the colors are well blended out, but outside of that, I don't have much else to say on this for today. Despite all the little setbacks, I'm really happy that I pushed through, and I encourage you to try to do the same. What tips do you have for getting past the fear of starting something? Let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to hear. Thank you for sticking with me today and watching this rambly sketchbook spread. Here's the final piece in all its glory. Subscribe for more creative content in the future. I have some really cool plans that I'm excited to do. I'll see you then.